And welcome in to be our guest. As we start to age, there are more and more legal problems that we can have in our life. Very luckily, in the city of Montgomery, we have Faulkner University. And today, John Kraft is here, and you are a professor, but you're the director of the Elder Law Clinic at Faulkner University. When did you guys put that clinic together? It's been a while.
Yeah, so that clinic's been operational since 2007, Jack.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's part of the university, but it is a clinic that people can actually go to get legal advice, regular citizens.
That's right. So we do pro bono legal services for anybody over the age of 60 who needs to do some basic estate planning, things like that.
Today, if a person watching, what do they need to have their house in order legally, would you say?
Well, there are kind of two broad categories of documents that you need.
Okay.
One of those would be to dispose of your assets and your property. So typically you're talking about a will or a trust there. The other types of documents that you need are ones that handle your decision making if you're not able to make decisions for yourself. So typically that's a power of attorney. So when people come to the clinic, or really any kind of an estate planning attorney, those are the basic documents that they would put together. A will, perhaps a trust, and a power of attorney. And a power of attorney could be for both finances and property, or like medical decision making, a living will. So those would handle decisions for you, appoint someone to make those decisions if you're not able to for yourself.
And I think our viewers need to know that I know that when my wife and I first got married and started to have children, we put together a will because we wanted to make sure that our children would be taken care of in the event that both of us died together. But if you did a will, and for our viewers, if you have a will that's 40 or 50 years old, you probably need to update that will, would you say?
Yeah, probably. I mean, circumstances are going to change,
yes,
obviously.
The kids are gone. You're an empty nester.
And so my wife and I are the same way, and our kids are now 18 and 21. And
right.
So we think differently about how we could give property to them and that kind of thing. If you have young kids, obviously you might need a guardian appointed for them, but as they get older, then you might do different things in your will. And so circumstances would change over that period of time where you would probably need to think about updating it to make it current.
And then normally when you do a will, you have somebody that's going to be representing you, usually a family member.
Right. So a will is like two things. Part of the will is to say, here's who I want to receive my property.
Right.
It could be anything from family heirlooms to the house to a vehicle to money, those kind of things.
Because that can be the tug.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to make it absolutely clear.
Right.
Like, here's who I want to receive what I have.
Right.
And then the other part of the will is like what you're talking about is you appoint what's called an executor.
Right.
They're the person who's kind of in charge of making sure that what you said you want to happen actually happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And when a person passes away and they have the will, then we hear the term, does the will get probated? That means it has to be officially stamped by the probate office.
That's correct. So will probate means to prove the will.
Okay.
And so when someone passes away, depending on what assets and property they have, so like if you have a house and the house is in your name, you're going to need to take the will, your executor would take the will to the probate office and go through that process. And then doing that, the house would be taken out of the person's name and then put into whoever's receiving that property.
Which they need to do. Now, part two that we wanted to talk about was power of attorney, and that's in a lot of different ways. I know that a lot of times, many of our viewers, when you're going to go into a hospital, a lot of times they'll ask you, do you have a living will?
Right.
So you can help people with things like that also.
Correct. So and actually,
power of attorney also.
Yeah, think about it in terms of like which one of those is the most important document, like a regular will or a power of attorney or a living will. And actually, I think that the living will might be the most important of those to have, because you want it to be absolutely clear what your wishes are as it relates to your health care, especially any kind of end-of-life decisions. And if you don't have those in writing in a living will, it can be very difficult for family members to decide what to do in those circumstances.
And what our viewers need to know is you need to do it while you're still in good health.
Correct.
Not after you've deteriorated.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really important document in terms of what types of treatment you would like to have or not have, who you want to make your medical decisions for you. And then a power of attorney can also be financial decisions, but especially the medical, you want to carefully consider your decisions and what you would want to have happen and give yourself enough time to do that and kind of contemplate those decisions. You don't want to be rushed into it or have to do it in a stressful situation.
That's great.
Right.
Well, listen, some very good information. The clinic is at Faulkner University, which is right here in Montgomery, Alabama. Are there regular hours? We're going to put up on the screen how they can contact you. Do you? I mean, you're not open like we open at 8, close at 5, or something like that. But they can call for an appointment. That's the best way.
They can. So call for an appointment. You might have to leave a voicemail, unfortunately.
That's
but
okay.
I have students. So the idea is the students will actually man the clinic.
Right.
And so when you call, I'll talk to you, and then also I'll actually have one of my law students. So they're third-year law students who work under what's called a limited practice card in Alabama.
Okay.
So they actually do the work and get the experience in serving
And
the
then you
community.
put the stamp on it.
I make sure everything is good.
Good. John, thank you so much. And just remember this, we've always said it, one of the true gems in Montgomery, Alabama is Faulkner University. It's the Jones School of Law. It's been around for quite some time, and they do wonderful things in our community. We'll be right back right after this.